There is a party tonight basically, after 8. There are informations in this card. It is in La Scala, the bar is nearby here. You can find information, there is some signs in the wall. And now it's the presentation about what's new in LibreOffice 4.1 and what's coming by Tomáš Chvátal.
Okay, hello guys. So let's get started. This presentation is going to show LibreOffice 4.1 and the future features. So I won't be mentioning the features that we currently have in build service LibreOffice table and 12.3, which is 3.6 and 4.0, but 4.1 and followings. So don't expect the review for 4.0. So let's get started. If this move. Yeah. Okay, so who I am? My name is Tomáš Chvátal. I work at SUSE for 2 years now. I worked in QA department testing SUSE Linux Enterprise, and now recently I moved to openSUSE team, which makes your lovely distribution. I am also a packager for LibreOffice in Gentoo and openSUSE. So I know how to work with it from 2 distributions, and it's real fun. Other than that, I am openSUSE volunteer and package crazy stuff here and there. And also I am Gentoo developer for 5 years now, and council member in Gentoo, which is SUSE board for 3 years now. So let's get started. What features we have in LibreOffice 4.1? We have various writer features, which you can use in whenever you write your documents. Like the most important one, at least I think, from the list of good changes is font embedding. What does that mean? You can write your document and then put the font within your document, like with PDF, and it will open everywhere on any computer the same. So you don't have to fear that your font won't be available, and you can use any crazy font. If anybody remembers Windows Windings, the crazy font that draw planes, buildings, you can now write a document in it. Nobody will read it anyway, but it will look same on all machines. And this feature applies only for open document formats, so ODT, ODP, ODS, and similar. So you can't embed anything in a doc, docx, docx, and Microsoft format, basically. So how do I do the embedding? That's the last line. Let's try it. I have the open instance in here, if I manage to do it. Oh, I have a Czech version, sorry about that. Properties. It's not in the Czech version because so not show up for this feature because in Czech version I don't have the translation for it, so it disappeared from the menu. Sorry. So we have more features in the writer. One of them is working with images. How are these usually to rotate your image correctly? So you move the hand and rotate it by some sort of degrees, usually 90 degrees, 180, 270, but usually you don't want any crazy value between that. So with that, we now provide nice rotate image feature. So currently it has only 90 degrees because it was easiest to implement in the current code, and the following ones like 180 and 270 will be implemented in the next version. I was asked why just 90 degrees, but if I'm right, this code actually rotates the image. It doesn't load the image in the former rotation and then rotate in the document, but rotates the image and stores it internally into the document. So it has to keep the logic for the rotation every time, and it's hard to implement the others than 90 degrees. Now for other fancy feature, which I don't like that much, it's a gradient background. So you can set not just set colors for your, not only the tables, but anything. So you can set not just static color, like green, blue, but also nicely shift it like this. I don't know if you can read anything on that table, but sometimes somebody might love this feature. Don't know. And the last feature I liked, oh, it's too yellow and it's not visible. Basically, this is ranged comments. You can write comments to some point of your document. Like, for example, somebody makes a typo, mistake, adds extra M or whatsoever. So you can, instead of editing the document yourself, for example, you are reviewing students' work, you just create a note and write, here you made a typo. And it's for the fixed point in the text, so exactly on the typo. Also, you could previously mark some paragraph, the whole paragraph, or just one sentence of the paragraph as a comment area. For example, rewrite this phrase, I don't like it, similar. So you can mark the whole section, but now you can mark the multiple paragraphs. So in this example, when you will be able to download my presentation, there is a yellow marking over 2 paragraphs where I wrote the comment, this looks nifty. So with this, you can, for example, mark the whole student's document that you don't like it easily. So that we have for the writer, and now let's focus for the calc, which I like the most from the suite we have. The first feature is not exactly visible, but it's really useful when you work with a lot of statistical data. You can import large table cells larger than 64 kilothousand cells in both ways, per lines or per columns. Previously, it was, as I wrote here, quite limited, and the greatest problem with Calc is that it's just a list of separate cells, which is pretty hard to expand, because more cells you add to the equation, the more memory the application will use. Currently, Kohei, which works for SUSE, is trying to improve this, and he has some ongoing work for 4.2 to implement this crazy feature. So it will use less memory and will be even more faster than ever. As usually, most of the calc improvements are speed related. So Kohei has a huge statistical documents from Excel, ODS, and similar. And we try to benchmark them and see if they load faster and slower. And basically, this time I think we saved something like 20% of average loading time for the documents, which is nice, I would say. Now we have one crazy slide. As you can see, these are all fancy Excel 2013 commands, which are now supported by LibreOffice. It's just insane list, and as you know, these functions are usually translated into various languages. So if it's, for example, average is AVG in English, but it will be in your language whatever you have for the average as a shortcut. So our translator team did a nice work, and they are in proper language now and available. And the best feature in Calc you all can use is probably counting cells. Up for now, nobody could ever know how many cells you marked as selected in the Calc. You had to count by your head or write scratches on paper, whatever made your day. But now, when you mark, for example, here I marked, I don't know how many, 70 cells. It's nicely written in the bottom of the status bar that I am now selecting 70 cells, and I am perfectly fine. This is the most visible change, I would say, for the Calc, because even if we improve the backend, you guys won't see it unless you are directly hit by the bug or deemed for the feature. So that would be for Calc, I would say, for 4.1. Let's focus on Impress features. I found lots of improvements for bugs in Impress, but for the features, this is the only fancy feature I found. It's creating a series of creating a picture series of like a presentation. So you have 20 photos, and you mesh them into one presentation, which times, slides, rotates, whatever you feel like. And you just point the LibreOffice for the directory and create your vacation photos. So this feature means I will not be exactly happy visiting my family anymore, because I bet my mother will show me all the fancy photos every time. That will be horrors. So that's the only feature I found out directly visible to any users for 4.1. Now Base. Base is our database application or database ESAP application that allows you to create various SQL databases, queries for them, and similar. So what features we have there? There is a new limit function, which obviously limits the result. So same as in SQL, you can define the number of limited lines, and you get it. There are multiple ways how to get it, but since you user interface provides this value on the second toolbar. I would say it's toolbar. So on the second line of this, there is a limit exactly to be entered. So whatever you set up as your query, you can later on limit to some set value, like with SQL query normally. So that's from the visual changes. Now let's take a look on the internal changes and what we actually improved for you to use. So the global or core changes. Some guys, quite a lot of them from India, if I think, worked on the portation from Java to Python. And this actually means that I wrote the agenda and web wizards were moved to Python. And this meant something like removal of 15,000 lines in favor of 3,000 lines, which is for sure beneficial because smaller the code, easier to be understood. Another feature is moving from equal to harfbus. Whomever of you ever used Chromium for font rendering, Chromium uses harfbus, especially for give me a second, right to left writing. This is the most useful feature. IQ is not used or marked as deprecated for now, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. So the harfbus is a replacement which will be used more and more by open source projects. Not just Chromium and LibreOffice, but I've seen it bundled in Qt too. So even Qt uses this library. There were dialogues rewritten starting at 4.0, and now even more was rewritten to the UI files. And what does this mean? When you have the LibreOffice, if I manage to switch to them again, you have a windows like this. It's a dialog, and if it's old one, you can resize it. As you can see here, this one is the old one, and I can change the size and shape of the window itself. With the new dialogues, which I'm not now sure which is available right now, you can actually resize them, and all the entry points, so add the path, write something, everything resize up and down based on how you scale it, which is of course great for usability. So we are slowly removing these static versions and putting the nicely HIG ones. Basically, they are UI files written in Glade, so anybody who works for GNOME and does some UI stuff, they can simply chip in and work on LibreOffice. It will be no problem for them. Next feature is, I don't know why I mentioned this one. So it's a few images taken from Lotus Symfony, as we are merging the fixes and nice features from Apache OpenOffice to LibreOffice. We merged gallery images. It's just a bunch, like, I don't know, 12 images or 13 for galleries. I don't know what exactly they do. And the bigger merge we did is experimental sidebar, which you can see in Lotus Symfony, and I put it in the boot. You can all try it. It's on the touchscreen device. We have openSUSE here. There is a LibreOffice. When you launch it, it has a sidebar. So sidebar is not here, and if the LibreOffice has it enabled, it's on the right, like a sidebar, surprisingly. So you can all then try it out on the boot. Why I say it's experimental? Sidebar was written like the dialog I showed you, so it's not possible to resize up, down, or change translations into it. Nothing was possible. So there is ongoing effort in LibreOffice to rewrite it into the UI files, again to allow better translations and resizing. When this is done, we plan it for 4.2 release. More changes await us. There's one huge change, which is deprecation of demake. Previously, the OpenOffice was built only by demake. Demake was a make system, basically alternative to GNU make, and it was not exactly nifty. It had a problem with parallelization, dependency declaration, and things like that. So we spent lots of time since 3.3, I think, to move to GNU make, and finally with 4.1, there is no demake at all. So when you build it on your fast and fancy computer, it will be built with average features, for me at least, in 40 minutes, which is really progress, given that if I would try to compile on the same hardware, for example, 3.4, it was 1 hour 20. So we saved quite a lot of time for the compilation there. Reduction of German comments. Well, that's ongoing effort. With every version, some German comments are removed, because the StarOffice was written in Germany. Surprisingly, the developers write their comments in German, which nobody understood. Well, nobody apart from the Germans, of course. So we have this problem in LibreOffice team, because not all of us speak German. So we ask volunteers from Germany to chip in and translate the comments. It's one of the easiest tasks to start and get accommodated with LibreOffice and improve it, because it helps a lot if you speak German. If a developer don't get what in the comments, he can't easily understand the code and has to spend more time by looking on the algorithm and what's going on. We also get a nice effort from some developers, I think from Red Hat. They created automated detection for crashing bugs. Not like when you edit your document and suddenly it crashes, not. But when you open the document, LibreOffice should never ever crash. So we had a scraper, and it went over various bugzillas. Apache OpenOffice bugzilla, LibreOffice bugzilla, free desktop, Novel bugzilla, and I think some others. And it downloaded all the known formats like doc, ODS, ODT, whatever, and tried to open it in LibreOffice. When it crashed, it was locked, and the file was attached. So the developers had the chance to overview all the crashes, and most of them were fixed. So now LibreOffice should crash even less than ever. Also, with this version, as usual, there were 100 or more, even I think 120 something, new unit tests. This improves with each version because with the bug fixes developers do, they usually introduce 1 or 2 new unit tests, which is great because nothing will regress and create a new issue. Actually, I don't have the graph, but if you Google for regressions in LibreOffice, you can see that they are lowering with each version. There is less regressions, which is great because it means we are adding new features, yet not breaking the old ones. That's awesome. And we removed the SDF, which is a translation parser, something like getText, which I hope you all know. So SDF was used to process the translations and then provide them to the LibreOffice for the inclusion for displaying. Like here we see the Czech version on the top. I hope you can read it at least a bit. So when this is removed, SDF was linear, so everything was transferred one by one, and it was hell slow when you tried to build this with all languages enabled. I know you won't probably build LibreOffice yourself, and even if you do so, you won't build it with all languages enabled, but this enables faster deployment for the packages. So it's faster in openSUSE, in Arc, in Gentoo, wherever you find. So that's for the core changes, I would say. Then we have a filter updates. Filters are usually the new documents you can open in LibreOffice with each version. We have a Friedrich Strba who focuses on this, and with each version he provides some new and fancy feature. I think the 4.0 had MSPub or Visio. I'm now not sure which one was when. So with each version he provides a new format. This time we get mbef, which I suppose nobody of you know what for it is. It's from Mac, old Mac, when they didn't use Mac OS X, but Mac OS 9 and so on. So you can open, how old is actually Mac X now? You can open files of like 15 years, 17 years, flawlessly. When I seen the comparison images, which you can actually download an mbef from web, when I compared those with the screenshot they usually had, they look exactly 1-to-1. So it's a really nice feature, and you can actually import it and then save in ODT, which allows your documents to be future-proof, at least a bit. I don't know, this feature is not exactly fancy for most users, but it's perfect that you are able to open all documents. So even if you find suddenly some old computer in your attic, you still can find out what you did as your home project for first grade, I don't know. And the nicest feature, at least for me, in 4.1 is in help. There was an update for help which changed how we display the code examples. For example, VBA and others. So how does it look like? This is the difference. I bet the picture speaks than a million words. You can see it's colored, space separated, visible, and really understandable what the code does compared to what was used in 3.6. In 4.0, actually there was update for this already, but it didn't fit for my slide, so I didn't use it. And basically the difference between 4.1 and 4.0 is that 4.1 has it nicely colored, compared to 4.0, which was the same like the picture on the right, but just black and white. So that will be overview of current features. I didn't prepare a slide for the oncoming features, but I will just tell you. So for oncoming version, which is 4.2, the sidebar will be finished. So you can all enjoy it and drop the old topper bar and take advantage of your widescreen display, I would say. Apart from that, there will be migration of database for the base application, where we no longer will use Java written ASQL, HSQL, or something like that. HLSQL, HLSQL is the package, sorry for that. So it will be removed, and we will use Firebyte database, if you ever heard of it. So it will allow us to get rid of a Java dependency in base, which is always a great thing. And hopefully the new database will be more scalable and faster, which is always nice. Apart from that, there is an Android remote control, which I can't show up now because it's not working on my Android phone, because I have an experimental version of Android. But Richard is maybe somewhere in the room. But you can find Richard. He's a huge guy from the OpenSUSE community, and he has a Android phone with a working remote control, and he can show you even a plug connected with the touchscreen device we have on the booth. So find him and he can show you. It's pretty awesome because you can walk on the stage and move your slides with your phone. Nice and nifty. Apart from this, we are improving it, and there is a Google Summer Code project to provide this feature on iPhone. Surprisingly, some guys use iPhone and they deserve to control their presentations too, because we like them. Apart from that, of course, there is tons of improvements in document opening, bug fixes. Actually, when I take a look on the changelog for the 4.1.0, there was like 600 fixed bugs. So I would say LibreOffice is progressing nicely and fixing stuff. So now let's take a look what can you do to help the LibreOffice. But first, let's take a look what we are doing in LibreOffice. These graphs are current contributors and their affiliation. So the red one is Red Hat. Oh, it shifted my colors. So the red one is visible, it's Red Hat, but the top one is supposed to be green, like on the bottom graph, and it's SUSE. And then it's not exactly visible. The orange one is Oracle, which stopped contributing, of course. And actually, do we have some laser pointer here? So, could you point on that weirdly green? Thank you very much. So, if we, yeah, it's not exactly visible. Well, anyway, so take a look on the graph, and third bar on the bottom one is volunteers. So that means that most of the changes are submitted by non-affiliated people, community members, which is great, I would say, because that was not expectable before it was forked from openSUSE. Everything was done by Sun or Oracle, and nobody else could commit to the repository unless they gave out the permission. Now one more graph, which is unique downloads per version. As you can see, it's nicely, slowly growing up. This doesn't count the Linux versions because you all get it from distribution repositories, openSUSE, whatever else. But Windows users are slowly finding out we exist, and they are downloading more and more and more. Also, as you can see, there is like 1, 2, 3, every time there is 5 bugfix releases, and then there is 6th, 7th, and those are not that downloaded. As you can see, it goes down, then again up for the next version, again a bit down. It's a nice graph. So now, when I started, how can you contribute, even if you don't want to be developer, like heck with the C++ and the crazy stuff we have in LibreOffice? You can work with bugs. We have a bugzilla assistant, which eases the bug submission. You don't have to deal with bugzilla. You can log with OpenID if I'm right, so no account creation or crazy stuff. You just fill out 3 or 4 items, and it will get converted into proper bug for the developers to overview. Apart from that, if you are even more experienced, you can just work in bugzilla and help to confirm the bugs. Usually we require from the users to attach the document which made the problem and describe their issue. So we just go through the bugzilla to need info bugs, which are the new ones, and take a look, open the document, and look. Okay, he describes it like move this, write this, and it crashes. You do it, it crashes for you. You say, okay, I have the problem too. It's a new bug because it's obviously broken. And by this you help to remove the duplicates or wrongly filled bugs, and it makes easier for developers to find out the correct issues. Because currently we have 5,000 something bugs, and we close 100 per week, but 200 are opened. So the bugzilla is growing. That's not unexceptional. All projects have growing amount of bugs. But the work that bugzilla volunteers do by verifying the bugs helps us to decide whether it's important issue or not important, and how many resources we should point to that issue. Apart from that, you can have running Tinderbox. Tinderbox is a nice tool to run continual builds of LibreOffice and finds out whether somebody broke it or not. If, for example, you are a packager, not for openSUSE because we have pretty much this done, but for example, I don't know which Tinderbox is not there, maybe Arch Linux. So you fire up Arch Linux system, and you install all the required packages for LibreOffice and start Tinderbox with your configures, which is you use for your distribution. And every time somebody commits to the LibreOffice, this Tinderbox recompiles the LibreOffice for you and tells you, okay, everything was fine, green, you are happy, you can release. But if something breaks, it identifies directly the committer who broke it for you, and you can then annoy him fast and make him to fix your distribution, which is awesome. Even, well, I didn't prepare the browser, so give me a second. I will open how the Tinderbox looks. Ah, come on. So, okay, it's not moving. Okay, we should get browser here, yes. So this is the Tinderbox status page. As you can see, some systems built, some didn't. It's pretty nice. You see the yellow ones which are now building, and it's really fast and easy to find out what and when happened. So that would be for contributing. Of course, you can contribute with your code, but for that we have lots of wiki pages explaining what and when and where. Just go to LibreOffice.org and take a look on Getting Involved button. It explains everything. So let's take a look on Enrolled. Firstly, I have to say openSUSE is hiring, and we would like to see more colleagues. Not openSUSE, SUSE is hiring, sorry. SUSE is hiring, and we would like more colleagues, even to openSUSE team. So if you are interested in working with Lizard company, please don't hesitate and open the URL and write to our HR. And now, let's roll with questions. So, who wants to know something about LibreOffice? Okay, over there. They have to give you the microphone.
Yeah. Did you mention that it's going to be available on iPhone?
Not LibreOffice itself. There is some project for that, but remote control for iPhone. So you can control your presentations from the iPhone phone. Basically, the most effort, as I showed you, is in the Android integration, which is now red, the 2 bars on the left. So it's not currently compiling. But this is where our hackers work most. There is also some iPhone integration project, but I don't know how that one is progressing. But I can recommend you to ask on IRC on the LibreOffice mailing list. Somebody will gladly answer to you what's the ETA, what are the cave cuts, what's the progress. Okay, over there is another question.
Is there any future plan to have live OpenOffice?
Live like in the web browser?
Like, yeah, Google Docs, like
Actually-
Office Live.
Actually, I didn't prepare this for this presentation because Michael presented it since 3.6, so I didn't consider it new feature. But there's a possibility with GTK3. It has a feature that it outputs to HTML5, if I'm right. So you can have a running LibreOffice instance and access it over your browser, if it's what you think. It works quite nice. Just take a look on YouTube and search for LibreOffice GTK3 or something like that. It's for sure recorded, so you can see how it operates. But yeah, it's already possible. Although it is still testing feature. Don't use it for production and don't want to kill us if it breaks your documents. But yeah, it's working kinda. So, any more questions?
I think we are done.
Okay, in that case, thank you for your attention.